You'd be excused for thinking the only challenge facing the European Union these last 3 years has been dealing with those wayward Brits and their strange desire to exit. Well, it's not been big news in the UK, but the country long regarded as the powerhouse of the EU has some significant problems of its own. I remember first being alerted to this back in 2015 when America's top demographic analyst Harry Dent came to speak at one of our events. He pointed out that when it comes to aging baby boomers, Japan leads the way. We've all heard the stories of how they now sell more adult nappies than baby nappies in the pharmacies of Tokyo. What Harry said next was more of a shock. The next country in line for the demographic cliff will be Germany. Back then, he predicted 5 million would leave the workforce by the end of this decade. A recent report by the Bertelsmann Foundation explains the problem graphically. Right now, there are 43 million people in the German workforce. 3 of them support every retiree over the age of 65. So between them, Hans, Jürgen and Manfred have to cop up 1/3 of Marcus's state pension and healthcare costs. That sounds like quite a burden. But wait, there's more. In just 1.5 decades, by 2035, the full demographic impact will become apparent. The ratio of workers to retirees will no longer be 3:1, it will be 1:1. How much tax will that worker have to pay to single-handedly support a retired non-worker? If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you plan on still being around in 2035. What happens in Germany by then will hit most developed countries soon afterwards. And that's before we factor in the impact of artificial intelligence and robotics on the workplace. Unskilled jobs will disappear in their millions, leaving another underclass dragging on the remaining workers. None of this is apparent when you look at the current unemployment rate in Germany, which at 3.1% is less than half the average across the European Union. Indeed, many companies are struggling to fill posts, so they encourage skilled people not to retire, or they take on illegal workers who congregate in known meeting points in city centres. The figures are also flattered by a government-subsidised scheme that enables companies to put people on part-time working without laying them off. Over 8% of companies expect to be using this scheme within a matter of weeks, as Germany looks certain to be heading into an official recession with 2 quarters of negative growth. In the absence of high inflation, the only outcome I can see is an ever-increasing state pension age. If you're in your 50s now, expect your pension to be delayed until you're in your mid-70s. If you're in your 30s today, you'd be best advised to discount any idea of ever receiving a pension from the government. If you're a millennial, you might want to consider murdering your parents, because they will leave you a record level of national debt, a government that can't service it, and record levels of taxation to support them in their dotage. My strategy of not having children is starting to look like the safest survival plan of all. I'll see you next time.